area and people get affected by the inclement weather. So obviously, hopefully, this is a little respite maybe from a pain in the ass that you're dealing with. Perhaps you've lost power. You're still able to watch on, say, like, I don't know, somehow you're watching on your phone or you're listening on the radio because it's battery operated, or you're in your car, maybe you, whatever it is. We appreciate it greatly, and we hope you're all right. Hang in there. Also on Twitter, it's at Jay Cameron Show. I'm Jeff. That is Tom. If you are watching on YouTube, Warchant TV, we appreciate that as always. Got a good show for you today. That is usually the case, but that's true today too. I'm excited to be here. Hey, listen, I ended up practicing anyhow today. I guess I would argue that's why you build an indoor practice facility, right? Is so that you can find it on days like this to be able to get out there and get after it. Before we get the conversation started, let me say that the Heisen Legal Law Firm chat is obviously, they're dedicated to representing injured clients statewide. They've been with us here for a while now. We appreciate them. If you've been in an accident, call Heisen Legal Law Firm, 813-803-0733, free consultation for you. No cost to you unless they win. Your interests come first with Heisen Legal Law Firm, the name you can trust for justice. Call 813-803-0733 now or visit HeisenLegalLawFirm.com. Heisen Legal Law Firm, your advocate in times of need. Offices, Tampa. All right, let's turn Tom on so everybody can hear. Hey, how are you, buddy? How are you, brother? Different locale. It's the weather has caused problems for us today. Tom is actually in Tallahassee, Florida, but still not in the studio through no fault of his own. We did a lot of jumping through some hoops to make sure we could get this show on the road, and we actually found out, truth be told, about 7 minutes before we came on the air that we were going to be able to patch it together and make it work. So I'm just excited you're here, and I'm just excited we're able to do it. What's up, buddy?
What's up? We have seen each other since I've been down here, and that's
we played golf together.
I'm a stone's throw away from where you are. Maybe no. If I was, I'd walk over there. But I'm a little bit longer than a stone's throw away. That is frustrating. But you know what? I thought it was an underdog that we'd have a show at all, say Saturday night, when you saw what the track was looking like. But then yesterday it looked a little bit better and better. And to those of you that are listening in the affected areas of the Big Bend to the east of us, we send our best wishes to you, and we hope that everything goes as smoothly as it possibly can. And I know that's going to extend over to the east coast of the state, east coast of Georgia, south part of South Carolina, as well as the next couple of days go on. Please stay safe and listen to your emergency folks and their guidance in your local areas. And hopefully we can make you smile for a little bit.
Whoa, see, look at that. Bob O'Reilly's still playing. I was going to play the coach's poll, Tom.
The coach's poll. The coach's poll. The coach's poll.
It's out. It is out. The coach's poll is out. Run.
The coach's poll.
Yeah. So before we get into I hit the button. We're good. Before we get into that poll, and before we get into all of the audio that we're about to have, I will just say that it's always a checklist of mine as well. Once the coach's poll is out, Tom, it is here. It is time. Here we go. It is first scrimmage is in the books. We've got some audio wrap up from the coaches. And, it's a tough read when you can't go to that. We didn't get to go to that. But I did think that the audio told a bit of a story. I'll give you that top 25 coaches poll in a second. I hit it. Don't worry. I'm aware of it.
The coach's poll.
But I did want us to introduce some audio. It's still funny.
That's why I'm frustrated. It's not even about not being around you. It's about I couldn't hit that button today. That really. Thanks a lot, Debbie.
The coach's poll.
Yeah.
No,
the coach's poll.
Woo! It's so fun. I'll do that in a minute. We'll get to the coach poll. Why don't we hear from Mike Norvell? This is Mike Norvell talking about – this is a quick clip, and then we'll go into a longer clip from him. And this will get the conversation started on a Monday here. I do have some things I want to get into that are unrelated to Florida State, which have to do with five great things that happened in the way of American success in the Olympics. That was awesome to watch. I took in quite a bit this weekend, so just a couple comments on that. But let's hear from Mike Norvell. Quick clip here, which I think opens the door for you and I, Tom, to talk about some of what we want to say regarding evaluations, and then we'll get into Mike's conversation about the wide receivers. Let's first start with who's playing and who's not, basically.
We tried to play a good amount of personnel. We limited some guys. Darius, Maurice. We're limited. Offensively, we also had JB and Rob were on kind of a snap count as we were rolling. Obviously Pat, Daryl and Josh were all kind of the same on the defensive front. So it was really good to get the amount of reps for some new guys, and I thought they were active, and we'll get a chance to get a better sense of it as we watch film and get through the weekend. But just out there on the field, I thought it was a good work day with both sides showing well in certain moments.
Okay, so right off the bat, Tom, if he tells you, and he did, I'm glad he was forthcoming, there's no Darius, who's lauded as your best offensive lineman going into this season and has a chance to be an All-American. He doesn't play. And then from there, Maurice, who has started 150,000 games at center, isn't playing for you. And they know what they have with those two guys, so I get why they hold them out, but it makes it very difficult to then evaluate the offense where your two, I guess, most accomplished offensive linemen are not in there. They're not in the game. And then defensively, you've got no Patrick Payton. I think he said no Daryl Jackson, no Josh Farmer.
Well, he said quickly that they were on pitch counts. A lot of guys were on pitch counts. And snap counts.
Okay,
but
so very limited, right?
We kind of know the drill there. It's almost like a representative amount of work. That would be what I take away from that. That is a personal takeaway. That's not what Mike Norvell said. But when you're saying you had Darius and Mo are out, you got pitch counts for Jeremiah Byers, Robert Scott. You got pitch counts for Patrick Payton and Josh Farmer and Daryl Jackson. Well, again, if you're trying to evaluate how the passing game looks, how the run defense looks, I mean, there's some limitations potentially there in how you do. And Mike Norvell expanded outside of that clip talking about they wanted to get some other players, some rotational players and young guys, some looks. And that's clearly what they did. But if you're trying to determine based upon intel from the scrimmage what this group is, don't do that, because basically 7 of your linemen, your best linemen, were either out or on pitch counts.
Difficult to do. All right. Now we get into something that I think has everybody's attention because it's the area that we're going to be concentrating on the most as we get headed into the season. I think this is the thing that will either propel Florida State to another double-digit win season, whether that's 10 wins, 11 wins, 12 wins, whatever it might be, or not. And that's wide receiver. And so let's hear him talk about the wide receivers here for a second.
I mean, there was definitely some good moments, and then we still had a couple of missed opportunities, and a couple guys that whether got behind the defense or had a chance to go make a play where we didn't finish a handful of them, and those are opportunities for guys that are trying to establish themselves as somebody can be in the rotation. I feel good about the group that we have. I feel good about guys that have been performing at a high level, but we're trying to get a sense of what is this, what's the rotation going to look like? What guys are going to be able to put themselves and earn more opportunities. And so just trying to throw them into different looks and give guys different one-on-ones and just chances to go finish plays. And it was, like I said, there's some good moments, but also some plays that were left out there that we got to get better at. He's finishing plays. He's still got a lot to learn. I think there's a lot that he gets to grow with, in his understanding, but he wants to. And, he had a couple of really nice catches tonight, finishing plays down the field. That's something that, we need to see. And he's definitely, the moment's not been too big for him. Like I said, there's still a lot of things that he gets to grow in, just overall understanding. But I mean, he definitely is. He showed up big in these type of situations. Here early, 9 practices in camp, and thought he did it again today.
All right, so the he there that he's referring to is Elijah Moore, the receiver that we're all excited about because of that stuff that you can't teach. The length, the athleticism, 6'3", 6'4", can really jump. You just wondered how quickly he could get up to snuff and make plays for you in a game-like setting, and how much of the offense can you entrust to him. I'm going to read into this he's talking about wanting to figure out the rotation, what it's going to look like, were his words. And he thought there were some plays that were left out on the field. And that speaks to inconsistency from his receivers in this scrimmage. And I think that's something that he's been harping on quite a bit and been frustrated by to some extent. Now, it is so early in camp that you can't extrapolate, those inconsistencies as being a permanent presence in this receiving corps. That's why you practice. You've got to get your timing down. You've got to get the reps under your belt. You feel more and more comfortable about what you see and how to attack that, how to execute. You also get a better sense of timing the more that you do this with a quarterback. So I think there's a lot of guys that he knows, and he keeps referring to this. I like that room. I like that room is kind of, if I'm going to translate again, I'll add to it. I'll finish the sentence. He stops short. I like that room, but you all get the same sense, right? I like that room, but. That's what he's saying. I like that room, but they got to go get it. It's now. We got to go find out who our guys are going to be. And I don't get the sense that he knows just yet. He really likes some of these young guys. I wonder, as you come into a season, and again, today is what? August the 5th? 5th. So it's, 19 days away from your first football game. And this is where you begin to not panic, but you hear coaches say it all the time, and it's certainly true. Time is of the essence. You got 18, 17 days, really, maybe 16 to get this figured out. He's going to want to know that rotation before they hop on a plane and go to Ireland. And so the game is the 24th, but you don't have to the 24th. You've got, a few days before that to know, all right, I like this group. This is the group. Here's who we're rolling with. Give some of these young guys an opportunity, not ready to put it all on them just yet. Going to be fascinating. This is an important, it's not surprising to me today that they practiced. I think if they're going to reach their goals, he feels like we've got to bring out the best in this group sooner rather than later, and we need all the practice we can get because we have so many new pieces. You got a new quarterback, new receivers, and that is a difficult thing to get up to speed, and he feels like they need every practice they can get. I would be surprised if he's allowed to do it. I think they're still going to Jacksonville, Tom. I know that place is dumped on right now with this weather system and what's happening, where it turned and how much rain they're going to get. But I suspect that if he can get over there and put them through the paces, he's going to do it.
Yeah, what I gather from his comments is you're right. There are some guys who are on the brink and some guys who can make a play here or there, but they don't do it with consistency, that have been here for a long time. And he's frustrated by that. How many years are we going to go through this and you're going to be the same player for me, or the same? You will make a play, but then he even said they got behind the defense. To me, that's a translation of, I called a good play. DJ looked in the right area. Everything is there. Go ahead and finish the play. And what I'm gathering is Elijah is too raw for me to trust now, but damn it if he doesn't have the fearlessness that I'm looking for in the rest of these guys. That's my takeaway on it. Those were two separate questions at a different time in his presser, so I don't want it to seem like that was straight back to back. But when you're hearing about they don't finish plays, or they have an opportunity but they don't take advantage of it, and then later on he says about Elijah, he finishes plays. I think he's trying to not have to force Elijah more to be in that rotation. But if he's going to be the only guy, or one of the only guys who consistently steps up and matches the moment, he said the moment wasn't too big for him. That's also a huge code about trust for coaching staffs. And the moment's not too big for him. I think you can extrapolate and say, is the moment too big for some of these other guys? Because I'm getting frustrated by them.
Jonathan, thanks for the contribution, my man. Really appreciate you adding to the program there and contributing. You guys, that's awfully kind. Is this season a my eyes to yours moment with wide receiver development? If not for 2 draft picks that came in as short-term transfers, what proven high school commits have we groomed into major contributors under Norvell under Norvell, and then he asked Pokey, and he's looking at Ron Dugans. That is, remember Dugans was under a little bit of pressure there for a short time, and looked like he was in trouble when he got it kind of turned around. I am always a harsh evaluator of our coaches, Jonathan. I tend to lean towards the harsher side. Somebody might hear that and say, really? You've had nothing but praise for Mike Norvell because he's earned pretty much nothing but praise up to this point. We just had an undefeated season and won the conference championship again. So, I say again, back to being the conference champion. So there's been a lot of good that's come out of his time here and not as much to quibble with. We have spoken about recruiting being a concern with the staff in general, although that is improving. Getting a Hakeem and some others in here that may end up changing that room is what everybody holds out hope for. But obviously, if this group doesn't perform this year, I think, obviously it'll be 2 fingers to my eyes, 2 fingers back to you, Ron. I mean, that's how this works. And I think he's hyper-focused at receiver, meaning Norvell, because, of course, he is a former receiver. That won't sit well if they struggle. If they're the reason that this team doesn't take a big step in terms of retaining the conference championship, making the playoff, whatever it might be, whatever the bar is in his mind this year, you can bet that there'll be a lot of scrutiny and criticism.
Personally, I think they developed Johnny. He was here for 3 years, and he's a better player leaving Florida State than he was the guy that came in here. So,
well, that's for sure.
That would be the one player I would point to and say, yeah, he's not a short-term transfer. Keon was, no problem. Point taken there. The guy he showed up as is the guy he was here. But I look at the improvement in the recruiting before saying it's 2 fingers to my eyes, 2 fingers back to you. Clearly, Mike Norvell loves what Elijah Moore is on campus, and immediately he's a dude. He has an impact. Everybody here that has been here, Warchant staff that has gone to practice, has said that Lawayne McCoy is going to be one of those types of players. You just got C.J. Wiley to commit. You just got basically you've got a class with 3 top 200 players right now in 2025 in receiver. So the quality of player is improving that's coming in. I think next year would be the one. If the receiver is mediocre this year, I don't think you point, and look at Ron Dugans with the 2 fingers to my eyes quite yet. There's been market improvement. I don't think this is like linebacker. I think and linebacker could be better at the end of the year too, but I don't think it's the same thing. I think Ron Dugans has done a pretty good job. It was rocky, but I think the last couple of years have been very, very good.
He's got a real opportunity in the next 2 years to squash all of it, agreed, because they've got a lot of young talent. But, of course, they got to produce, and even though we're excited about who they are and the commitments from those talented youngsters you just alluded to, they still have to come in and play well. And so we'll wait and see if that happens. I do think, Danny, you're pretty close to spot on here. He writes, I'm at a point where by a few games into the season, the vet receivers will be forced to play well, or else McCoy and Moore will have their spots. Receiver is a spot where that can happen. That can absolutely happen. Really talented running backs, wide receivers, occasionally corners, can get real playing time, significant playing time, and by midseason be the guy at those positions. It does happen. It's not ideal. You would always want a guy that's played more football, not less football, and seen more and been in more pressure situations than not. But talent is talent, and if you've got a lot of it and you understand the playbook and I can trust you and you can physically handle the rigors, yeah, I'm with you. I don't think that's crazy to suspect. It would be interesting, I suppose. At this point, he's issuing challenges to these wide receivers. It's still very early. That's their first scrimmage. 2 weeks from now, we might be talking about how consistently they've played well and how much better they are right now than they were in that first scrimmage. That's a distinct possibility. Let's in fact hope that is the case. Chef Cameron Show 93.3, Real Talk Radio, and Warchant TV. We continue in a moment.
Glass has been taken care of.
Rick Stockstill, former Knoll, former Middle Tennessee State head football coach. Dustin Hill. Bunch of QBs. Q's on 3, Q's on me. 1, 2, 3.
Workouts, OTF has added Tread 50 and Strength 50 for those in the mood to just lift for an afternoon or attack those cardio goals for the day. Take the guesswork out of exercise. Make sure you're getting the most out of each and every workout. Orange Theory Fitness, location Midtown Tallahassee and Village Square Boulevard.
Real Talk fact number 44. Banging your head against the wall for 1 hour burns 150 calories. This is Real Talk 93.3, Tallahassee's Real Talk station. The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Rolling on a Monday that was eventful already. Hopefully not terrible for you guys. Appreciate you joining us today as we get the week started, hopefully right, with plenty of content regarding Florida State. We just heard from Mike Norvell post-scrimmage. Let's hear from the other side of the football and Adam Fuller. This is a lengthy clip from Adam, and I like it. It's more of an overview and talks about identity and all that good stuff. So this is Adam Fuller post-scrimmage and some of his thoughts, and Tom and I will react to that momentarily.
It was good to get out there. Got a lot of different combinations of people in there, especially in the back seven between linebackers and DBs. So they're all necessary reps. I thought for the most part, execution was good. I thought our tackling was sloppy. We made a lot of costly penalties. I don't think we were very disruptive in the pass rush. I thought we were better in the run game. But we hit the target of getting, it was important in this scrimmage, not only get certain people the right reps, but we were going to push with what we were doing. In the spring, you just try to keep it as vanilla as you can and making sure everybody understands the concepts and they play hard and they tackle. We were going to try to push what we were doing today in the execution to make sure, all this, the second group of line of players and the linebacker group that haven't played much for us yet. We were trying to give them, multiple calls and just push all that on them to make sure the execution level is where we want. So I was happy with the execution part of things with the amount that we tried to get looked at and run. But really sloppy in tackling. I thought we could rush the passer better than we did. And then we had a lot of costly penalties. I do feel like they will go out there and they'll put a really good effort out there. And that is a big identity right now. I think the details with this group continue, to have to be pushed. And that's not because they don't want to. It's just trying to create some intensity with the reps to gain some experience with some of that next group, whether you call them 1B or 2s. But we play hard and, we practice hard and, it's part of our program and our identity, but I am seeing that, and I am proud of them for that. Communication, even, when you have returners playing together, in the summer is great. We try to push it, but you're working on your individual skills. But, we play so much connected coverages and within the run fits that, guys have to be on the same page. And, we work it every day. The intensity of when you get out there and doke, is part of how you got to put them in it, but, I like where we're at with it. I think our guys respect it, and that's part of it. They don't take it for granted. And, it's something that, comes more natural to some. We have some elite communicators, and then we have some guys that got to get better with it. And we just got to make sure the guys that need to get better with it don't rely on the elite ones, because sometimes those guys aren't in the game, and we got to make sure we play together.
That's interesting. I always appreciate, I want to say this, I do appreciate Adam's candor. He is usually willing to kind of get a little bit more detailed in his descriptions about the successes and failures of a practice or a scrimmage or his defensive unit as a whole. And that's no different right there. It's interesting to me, Tom. I don't know where to start with that. I'll start with the simple stuff. Tackling. This is a complaint that everybody over the age of 35 who ever grew up playing football has about modern football. It is a proper complaint. Tackling is not executed as consistently well as it was in, say, the 70s and 80s and maybe even early 90s. And that's because they don't practice tackling. And this goes all the way to the top down. The NFL Players Union has made it so that you're not even hardly allowed to hit very often, certainly in season. What's going to happen if you don't practice a skill? It's going to deteriorate. That's what's going to happen. That this is always something that is going to happen. And I'm not surprised that defensive coordinators are routinely frustrated by the inconsistencies when it comes to tackling. We're out at practice, even when they're in full pads, a lot of times they don't go to the ground. Now there are, like that scrimmage was a full-on tackling scrimmage. Well, that's like the first time people have had to actually tackle in some time. And there is a world of difference between thud and actually taking people to the ground. In particular, there's a world of difference when you're trying to tackle somebody who does not want to be tackled and knows there's no whistle. In thud, you get hit and the play is over. Even if it's a pop and a good pop. Man, there's some dudes out there now that can withstand that pop, and they would truck a bitch if given the opportunity. But they don't get that opportunity. And now we're in it. Now we're in a scrimmage. Now it's let's go. Oh, yeah, you hit me. I'm good. Wrap up, buddy. So I'm not surprised to hear him get mad about tackling. It's going to be every first scrimmage for every defense in the country.
Yeah, the thing I'd say about tackling is, like, more than just the thud issue in practice, I think it's the quick whistle. That's the other thing. The referees blow the whistle so quickly, especially in the running game. This is why it's hard to really value what we see in a practice, even when they go 11 on 11, about whether a running back breaks one for 25 or he stopped for a gain of 4. Either way, it's a positive play, but one's an explosive and one's 2nd and 6. And it's so hard to tell because sometimes the officials feel like it's almost like judging an umpire in baseball. Sometimes they're quick with the whistle and sometimes they're way too stringent. And you're saying, well, he was going to go down. I can't believe they let that play run. So it's very hard when we evaluate to know what it is and what it isn't. And then again, it just makes total sense that when you're in a scrimmage setting like this one, especially when there's a lot of backups in there too, and maybe the trenches aren't the way that they're supposed to be, the angles you're going to see are different. Like all those little nuances conspire together in a situation like this. And that's why you lead to sloppiness in tackling. But I think generally speaking, it did sound like, with Coach Norvell's extended comments and Adam Fuller's extended comments, that they were there. The defense was waiting to make the plays. They just didn't always finish because the tackling was a little bit sloppy. But it sounded like the defense had more than just a little bit of the better of the action.
Yeah, and they should. I'd be very concerned if they didn't. Very concerned if they didn't for a variety of reasons. First of all, Defense is way ahead of offense always at this time, especially in a scrimmage. Secondly, sounds like two of your best offensive linemen didn't play very much. If for some reason the defense wasn't having success against that group, that's a problem. Pass rush, again, if you've got limited rushes from Patrick Payton and Marvin Jones Jr. is what it sounds like to me, then they're pushing that backup unit. And this is an area of intrigue for me because I don't know how great of a pass rush they're going to be able to generate if they don't have their starters out there. I think they've got sufficient enough depth to hold up against the run with their 2s and 3s in rotation. I don't know how good they'll be at getting after the passer if they don't have Patrick Payton out there, if Marvin Jones Jr. doesn't have the kind of season we think he can have. I don't know. There's nobody of a prolific nature behind them that's going to come in that you're going to feel great about generating a pass rush. So maybe that frustration is born out of the fact that he's pushing those guys hardcore and trying to get them to understand they've got to be able to have some success here when the starters are being rotated out. He'll continue to harp on that. I don't know that there's another huge difference maker off the edge right now. You can generate pass rush a lot of different ways. I'm speaking specifically to the edge rushers. That's it.
Well, I think that's also where the communication part comes in. And one part, when he was asked about communication, he said it needs to be better. You heard a lot about that. They've got some elite communicators, but then they need other players to step in and fill that void, especially if there's a substitution, because they love to roll subs a lot. So if you got a backup package in there, you got to be able to know that you can line up and you can line up quickly, especially when you're facing a team with tempo. One of the worst things you can see as a fan is the defense and their heads on a swivel. They're looking at each other, trying to shout at each other, and it's not getting done. Whatever the check is not getting made. That is one of my concerns this year. To me, that's the largest concern, actually, I have about the defense this year. It's not linebacker aptitude. It's not defensive tackle depth. It's not pass rush depth. It's, are we going to be lined up and ready to go? Because Tatum Bethune and Kalen DeLoach were excellent at communicating, and Akeem Dent behind them. I think Shaheem can help you there, but a linebacker, whether it's DJ Lundy or Cam Riley, who's trying – Mike Norvell called him smart, early on. So I wonder if they're leaning on Cam's experience to be able to be somebody who gets guys aligned. That's my number one concern, is coverage busts because we're not communicating well. And it sounds like it's okay right now, but it could stand to be a whole lot better.
Yeah, and it's the first scrimmage, and I want to continue to reiterate that. They shouldn't be great in their first scrimmage. Really, no one unit should be great in their first scrimmage. So you don't worry too much about the areas that are being critiqued. Also, remember this, to anybody who's overly concerned about what they're hearing with some of the critical analysis of the coaching staff towards its players, they're always striving to be perfect. And it is really not possible in the great game of football to be perfect. You can aspire to it, and along the way, as they say, achieve greatness and excellence and near perfection on a given day or week, but you're never going to find perfection. So therefore, there's always something to criticize, and coaches are always going to push those buttons. It is very rare after a scrimmage, especially a first scrimmage, to have a coach sit down, any coach, offense coordinator, defense coordinator, head coach, you name it, and say, well, guys, if we played Alabama tomorrow, we'd win by 50. I just don't see a team in the country that's going to be able to compete with this group. You're just not going to get that when they're chasing that perfection and they're trying to ready their team to be, game focused and ready 2-3 weeks from now. There's so much to try to get right in the early stages of camp. So there's a balance. I expect to hear criticism from coaches and not long, drawn-out platitudes about how wonderful everybody played. They're just not going to do that. And the reason I bring that up is I know as a fan, anytime I hear a coach convey some sort of concern about any aspect of the team that I root for, I'm like, oh, that's not good. I don't like to hear that. But it doesn't mean that it's an abject failure or disaster. So you have to keep all of that in mind when you're listening to this commentary. We've got some more Fuller stuff. We'll get to it here in just a moment. I thought his comments were interesting. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Your local news now.
Official voting guides are headed to thousands of Leon County voters' mailboxes. The Supervisor of Elections announced they are sending out election guides this week, which will include sample ballots and information on where and how to vote. For those who do not want to wait for the mail, you can head to leonvotes.gov for more information. The Florida primary election is August 20th. OneBlood is continuing to investigate a ransomware attack that has impacted blood centers in Florida, Georgia, and the Carolinas. OneBlood Vice President Susan Forbes said they have moved to manual methods, which can be time-consuming when it comes to donor questionnaires and labeling blood-bound for hospitals. Despite the ransomware attack happening, blood centers are still up and running. Forbes could not put a timeline on when their critical IT systems will return online. More than 250 hospitals have been asked to activate their critical blood supply protocols during the unprecedented ransomware event. This is Rachel Anay with your Old Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. A flood watch continues until 11 a.m. tomorrow. A tropical storm warning continues until 6 a.m. Monday morning. Thunderstorms likely this afternoon. Otherwise, cloudy skies expected. Daytime highs approaching 80. Winds out of the north, 15 to 20 miles per hour. This report is brought to you by The Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Currently 75.
Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future. There is no Bigfoot, Eddie. Would you stop with that nonsense?
There's a Bigfoot, Jeff.
I wish there were. By the way, I don't want you to point to me as the guy that takes all the fun out of the room. I wish there was the Loch Ness Monster. I wish there was the Bigfoot. I wish there was the Chupacabra. All the things.
They're all mythical except for the Bigfoot. The Sasquatch.
The Bigfoot?
The Bigfoot. There's big feet. There's lots of them.
So like different, breeds, like different kinds.
There's like, families. There's different families. And,
so there's if they're in the snow, you call them a Sasquatch.
Or the Yeti, right?
Yep,
and then here in Florida, that's a skunk ape. And,
never heard that one. By the way, why do you think it's real? We would have found them by now.
They're the hide and seek champions of the world, Jeff. Nobody finds the Bigfoot.
I think you believe in Bigfoot.
I do believe in Bigfoot.
You don't believe.
I believe in Bigfoot.
Don't tell anybody you believe in Bigfoot.
I would go look for Bigfoot, but he scares me.
Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com multimedia network. Check out warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
I think it works both ways, Brian. I see the question in the chat. Today's a laid-back day on a Monday after a scrimmage that we were not allowed to attend. We're responding to the coach's remarks and obviously any intel that we're allowed to use to lend context. And so that's what we're doing here today. So I'm happy to answer questions to the best of my ability without having seen the scrimmage. Okay, so just know that nobody in the press saw the scrimmage. And the sense is, like a lot of scrimmages, especially first scrimmages, there was some good and some bad. And the coaches talked about those things. Let me answer this question, and then we'll hear more from Adam Fuller. Jeff, we all think that the secondary will be a strength. But is there a chance we're a bit over our skis in crowning them, especially Cypress's improvement, given the drop-off in wide receiver talent from 23? Well, it's a great question, worded well. I think it can work both ways. I suspected coming into the season, given the amount of experience and talent Florida State had in the secondary, in particular at corner, that they would be a strength of the team. They've got good players who've played a lot of football at key positions, at safety and at corner, and I suspected they'd be very good. Could it be that they look even better because they're going against a wide receiving core that does not feature, obviously, two of the most productive wide receivers we've seen here in Tallahassee in some time, including a couple of guys that are freakish athletically, one because he's 6'7", the other because he has a 40-inch vertical, and it was just physical and could catch and make really contested catches look easy. Perhaps, But it's also true that these wide receivers, which right now are fighting like hell to figure out who's what in the rotation and trying to win jobs and reps, are probably made to look pretty mediocre on a daily basis by the experience and talent of that secondary. So you can come out of a practice any given day and say, man, I don't know about these wide receivers. Well, as I said last week, everybody's offensive line looks a little bit better when they're not blocking Josh Farmer or Patrick Payton. And everybody's wide receiving core probably looks a little bit better when they're not facing a true talent like Isaiah Thomas, who I think is going to have a huge year regardless of who he goes up against. And I think Ventrell will too. I think Ventrell, I'm speculating. I don't know this. He has said things that lead me to believe this in terms of his comfort level in Tallahassee now. But I don't know that Ventrell was quite settled last year. He came over from Virginia as really probably the most highly touted corner in the portal, second highest ranked player in the portal. And he came over and, he had an okay year. He didn't have a dominant year by any stretch. He wasn't bad. He just wasn't a game changer. But as I said before, the circumstances by which him coming over existed, that's a weird deal. I don't know how locked in you would be after going through the tragedy that the players did at the University of Virginia in his final year there. And so I think maybe unburdened, maybe a little bit, and then familiarized, acclimated, will allow him to play. And then also more familiar with the defense will allow him to play faster and perhaps reach that talent we know is there because he's been productive before in this league. So I think he will. It's fascinating. All right, really quick, let's get back to some of these comments from Fuller. He gets agitated here about the questions surrounding the 20-play drive that the offense put together. He's not happy about the drive, and I don't think he's happy necessarily about there being some focus on that 20-play drive. Here's Adam Fuller.
It was a long drive. It was a really long drive. There were multiple third downs, and we got to get off the field. There were probably everybody about a 19, 20 play drive, and sometimes you look up and next thing you know, it's a first down. You're trying to, quarterback here, quarterback there, nickel. But it was just one of those drives, early in camp, was, where you're rolling guys in and out because you're trying not to get guys playing extended minutes. But anytime you have that long of a drive, you got to think you have enough playmakers that you got to get off the field at one point. It even went down. I think that was the drive that they got the ball down on the 2, and we hit them about 4 yards deep in the backfield, and Sam broke about 3 or 4 tackles and rolled into the end zone. That's how that drive finished. So, there was a scramble, there was a nickel and dime play. I mean, there were a lot of different. Anytime you go a 19-play drive, there's probably not one time that you had an opportunity off the field. There are probably multiple. You obviously, I don't want to say it's a third down issue. But, a drive like that, you have multiple opportunities to get off the field. I've always said, if you can limit big plays against us, we're going to make more than we don't, and we're going to get off the field. So that was one of the drives that we didn't. And so, yes, sir. Thank you for bringing that drive up. I appreciate that. Oh, what about the drive you guys did good? That 1 3 and out, what happened there on that drive? Adam, you guys, they look really well coached and organized, but no, let's go to the negative. Yay.
All right, so I think he's being sarcastic, but I would tell you this: he takes a lot of pride, and it's pretty funny that that drive was brought up by Ira. Good job, Ira. I mean that sincerely. I'm glad you brought it up. I'm not concerned, and I don't know that he's all that concerned. I would say that he's going to demand of that group because he's got so many guys that have now played for him for some time here. He's got guys he can speak to very, very concisely about what needs to happen in the way of communication. How many candidates are there, Tom, on that defense to be a great communicator that have played a ton of football? I mean, Shaheem has to be one, doesn't he? He has to be a guy. I don't know how he won't be.
Yeah, to me, this is where I feel the most positive about what I consumed from the scrimmage on Saturday. Like Alex Atkins spoke about it today, and there'll be some reaction on that on Warchant TV as well. But this tells me that this is me putting on the Adam Fuller cap. we played really well. There was a 20-yard drive that had some BS, 20-play drive that had some BS, some luck, and we were in the wrong place a couple of times.
Yeah.
But don't think that that's going to be some sort of thing around here. They got lucky. They got away with a couple of things. Kid broke 5 effing tackles when we had him at the 6-yard line. Like, we did our job. This is our one blip on the radar. Thanks a lot for asking about that, because otherwise I feel very good about what we did. So it's funny, there's the opening statement and there's some of the answers that Adam Fuller is giving, in which he's saying there needs to be improvement in many areas. But then the competitor in Adam Fuller comes out later with this particular question and answer, and it gives me confidence that he is pleased with what his defense did. Other than that nonsense, we're playing the Service Academy 20 play drive where they had to have 3 lucky things fall their way, because he said there was 1 nickel and dime play, there was 1 scramble, which means we did everything right. If a quarterback is scrambling and he makes a play, that means we covered it. We conceptually were ready for it, but we didn't account for this guy, or maybe one of our defensive ends slipped or something. So this is where I feel that you could put a smile on your face as an old fan saying, Adam is very happy with what his defense did on Saturday.
Let's hear from Adam about the defensive tackle rotation to round out the hour here, and comment on that before we go to break and get into the second hour.
I've been going through with Odell, and I do think we have six guys that can play for us at D tackle. And so there's times Josh and Darryl playing together. That's good, but there'll be a healthy rotation, as you guys know how I like to do it, or we like to do it. And so, there's 2 deep, there's 3 deep, there's 1 deep, there's third down group, there's first down groups. And so, right now we're not, I think any of those 6 can play together. I'm not too keen on trying to lock into the D tackle rotation yet, as much as just trying to get them playing together. There are certain skill sets that are better in certain scenarios, but I'm not going to be that specific yet. And we're just trying to get them all ready for first through fourth down. But the healthy part is we have 6 guys in there that will play. And, obviously the reps will be varied a little bit, but don't be surprised when you see Josh with one of the other 4 and Darryl with one of the other 4. And then sometimes obviously Josh and Darryl are going to be together. There'll be a healthy mix of that D tackle room where we're trying to do some things, front wise, to try to really take advantage of some of those skill sets that we have at D tackle.
I just hope that when we're trying to do some things with that defensive tackle group, that if you're facing a really good team that wants to run the ball, Josh and Darryl are out there together. Let's try to focus on those things, because we will rotate a joker, and there's no arguing, given the numbers last year, at the success Florida State's defense had. But there were moments last year that were absolutely maddening when you looked at personnel and knew that perhaps one of the better players on your defense, maybe 2 of the better players on your defense, were not in the rotation in a 1-score game in the fourth quarter on a 3rd and 5. That's it's not cool, in my opinion. That's not what you do. So we'll see.
Yeah, you could look at this a couple of ways, because they do have defensive tackles that have varied skill sets. I think Durajaye is different than Grady Kelly, right? Like, they would be different types of players. Daniel Lyons is different than KJ Sampson. And so I'm assuming that those are the other guys that are in the rotation as well. There is a bit of redundancy in the sheer mass that you have with Darrell Jackson and Josh Farmer. So maybe you want to have a speedier player against a certain front, against a certain team, because their guards aren't very quick. And so you put one of the big guys next to that particular player who's quicker. It'll be fun to see how they rotate. But then if you want to be a little pessimistic, you could say they don't love what they have in the second wave, so they want one of their premier players to be out there at all times with all rotations. So you can
do that, sure.
There might be a hint of truth to both ways to look at that. But there's no doubt that room also has a bright projection ahead, where Daniel Lyons and KJ Sampson can be 2 of your interior guys as time goes on. I just wonder if they would rather stagger having Jackson Farmer out there throughout the game, so that they are never without one of their 2 or 3 best defensive linemen in general at all times. I think that would probably be wise, rather than just doing like a line change.
I absolutely think it would be wise, and I hope they're listening loud and clear. We'll see what happens. Now, obviously, they're working on it. There's a lot of stuff going on there. Speaking of a lot of stuff, when it's hot and miserable, make sure you got your boys taken care of with the Crop Preserver and Soother. In essence, guys, it's ball aftershave lotion. That's what it is. I don't know why we're beating around the bush here. I do know why. It's what they do. How about that? Get you some, everybody. Save some money while you do it. 20% off and free shipping with the code WARCHANT at manscaped.com. 20% off, free shipping, manscaped.com. Use the promo code WARCHANT. You'll be glad you did. You'll be glad you did. Manscaped. Hour number 2, forthcoming. So stay with us.
Accelerate your feet through the board. Now that pattern shit, accelerate. Step. Step 2, defense. Get on your knees. Bend your knees and step 2 of me. Drive. Accelerate through. Strike through. Step. Good, Darius. Accelerate. Middle weight. Get your middle weight on your opposite foot. Strike. Step. You can't be laid off the ball in a drill that goes on the whistle.
and I'm with Rudy.
Thank you, Dana. I'm Rudy Ferguson, and I'm asking for your vote for Tallahassee City Commission Seat 1 on August 20th. Paid by Rudy Ferguson, nonpartisan Tallahassee City Commission Seat 1.
Science-backed, technology-tracked, and coach-led. Hey, Jeff Cameron here. You've heard me rave about the benefits of Orange Theory Fitness and the proven track record of science-backed interval training. Well, now Orange Theory Fitness has done it again, adding more ways for you to improve your health and look your best. In addition to the always great standard workouts, OTF has added Tread 50 and Strength 50 for those in the mood to just lift for an afternoon or attack those cardio goals for the day. Take the guesswork out of exercise. Make sure you're getting the most out of each and every workout. Orange Theory Fitness, location Midtown Tallahassee and Village Square Boulevard.
Broadcasting live from Florida's capital city, this is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on Real Talk 93.3. Now, stop what you're doing and listen closely. It's time for the Jeff Cameron Show in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Especially on a day where people have their concerns regarding all the rain that has hit Tallahassee and, you know, all the stuff everybody's dealing with. I hope you guys are okay, and I appreciate you being here. All right. So hour one, I don't know. I'm not growing in concern or anything like that. I think that is sort of the sense I get on the boards from people, that they're very, very nervous. I'm not nervous. I think Florida State's a good football team, and I think there'll be a good football team in Ireland. I'm looking forward to that. I can't believe how soon we're leaving, Tom. I fly out of here, I think, 13 days? 13 days I fly out of here, and I'll be on my way to Ireland to cover this team. We'll have opportunities to get together in Ireland. The Warchant staff will be there covering everything for you. We're going to have a blast. Hopefully you're going to be out there with us and meeting up where we're going to be. We got tailgate. We've got, live shows. Tom and I have talked some about that. We'll dig down deep and give you the very specifics before this week is out, I think. So good news. Now, one thing I always worry about after a scrimmage, and I don't know that there was any clarity on this, is I always worry about injuries. I see in the chat a lot of people are talking about Notre Dame having a gut punch today, learning that one of their starting offensive tackles is out for the season. Brutal, man. You don't listen. It benefits anybody that plays Notre Dame to hear that news that guy is out for the season, but I don't really wish for that at all, unless the person is a horrific human being who's done terrible things. I don't celebrate that. There have been guys in the past that were bad guys at various schools that when it was announced that they got hurt, I went good, and that pissed people off. But just bad dudes. Other than that, I root for these guys, of course, to be able to fulfill their dreams and play out the season. And so I think about us, and I think about who we can't afford to lose and who needs to be able to practice and can get better week to week. And I hold my breath all the time. And because we're not at these scrimmages, we're not allowed to watch these scrimmages, and we were not at this scrimmage. You just have to take what is stated when the question is asked. Every question, really almost any press conference after a scrimmage begins with, how'd you make out health-wise? It's one of the very first questions. And Mike, generally speaking, just says, I thought we got, I think we came out pretty well. We have to wait and see about some updates, but I think we came out pretty well. I mean, I'm paraphrasing. That's typically what he says, and it's kind of what he said here.
Yeah, and the whole, we'll see where we are after we get out of the scrimmage. Like it always scares you because there's something there in between the lines. The thing I would say is compared to the rest of college football, much of the rest of college football, our media policy is excellent. It benefits us more than basically anywhere else. I think LSU, we got some practice reports last year ahead of that game in Orlando because Brian Kelly will give you like a day a week. And you come in. We get so much more access than that. And I love that part of it. The injury thing is a difficult hurdle to navigate, but we agree. I mean, look, tacitly by showing up for practice to cover it, you understand the drill. That's going to go away soon. And it's not because, of questions in the chat or because the media won't put up with it. And, the ACC, maybe at some point they'll go get like a winbet.com, like a third-rate, gambling partner. But that's going to happen at some point where disclosure of setbacks, health setbacks, will be the norm in college football. The business is too big. These TV contracts are too large. And so if the TV contracts are large, the sponsorship agreements with different gambling services will also be large. So it's a tough thing to navigate and not communicate about. Or when you see those questions in the chat, I mean, most of the time it's like playing Battleship, miss. Every once in a while you see a question, you go, oh, I could see why you would be concerned with that because we get to see practice and we know what's going on. But back to the matter at hand, I think they're in a decent position right now, from what I understand. You don't have anything quite like a Notre Dame situation where I'm sure that that fan base right now is.
Oh man,
yeah, they're not enjoying their Cheerios tomorrow morning. They're gonna be very sad.
This is what happens for anybody. You get so excited, the anticipation build up to the start of a season, a sport you love, whatever it might be. You just want a chance to compete. You want a chance to compete. You understand that football is a brutal game. And you understand that injuries are likely to happen when you play said game. But there feels that there's something to losing a guy before he ever plays a game that feels like it's unfair and unjust and you've been cheated. And so if you're aware of, these are the starting five on the offensive line. This is the front four for the defensive line. Here's what I think the receiver room is going to look like. Here's what we think the starting group is in the secondary. If any of those guys go down due to an injury in a scrimmage or a practice before you play one game, you're just crushed. You hate it for the kid, but you also, you self-pity a little bit there because it's like, well, we didn't even get to see. You got cheated. For some reason, we all handle a guy getting hurt second quarter, week one of a game than we do a week before on a Tuesday at a practice. You know what I mean? Like there's something that feels wrong about a guy getting hurt in practice before you play a game. So that's why you hold your breath and you want a chance to compete at your best. And so when you hear news like that, you feel bad for any team or any player that has that happen to them. So you're looking forward to obviously getting out of these scrimmages unscathed. I don't know that you can. I don't know that you can have a live scrimmage in which you're taking people to the ground. You're not thudding, you're tackling now, and it's live. People are getting after it. You can't, it's just like you're never going to finish a game where somebody's not nursing something. Question is whether it's a 1 or 2 day nursing or a 5-week nursing. It's a very big difference.
Well, and it feels like the more that you coddle, and to use a Pat Forty term, the more that you coddle, a specific sport or a player, the more the injury happens. Now, I don't think that's true. For example, pitching in baseball. It's like, well, man, if they throw 92 pitches, the manager's starting to sweat bullets, and so is the front office. It's like, it's 92 pitches. What are we talking about here? Mm-hmm. It's more about the max effort than it is the pitch count, and that's why they know that everybody's a ticking time bomb. But even still here in football, it feels like, well, you're not going to the ground in practice. You're limiting guys' reps to make sure that your stars are where they're going to be in week one, which is on the field and in the lineup. And I'm glad that they did that. That was one thing we talked about in the first hour. Mike Norvell mentioning that a lot of our guys in the trenches were either limited or they were held out of this particular scrimmage. I think that's a good thing. But it feels like it doesn't necessarily mean the data is with it. It feels like the incidence of injuries is higher than it used to be, and yet we're more protective against injuries than we've ever been. Again, it's anecdotal. Maybe we were extremely unlucky last year, so maybe that's a lot of last year's angst talking.
I think we were I think we were very unlucky last year, and I would also say it felt worse because the vast majority of the injuries they suffered were all on the same side of the ball, and thus the outcomes were easier to diagnose. If all of a sudden you're watching, you're like, man, I don't think he's right. And you're talking about a wide receiver. And then you look at another wide receiver and you're like, oh, he's not even in the game. And then you look at another wide receiver and you're like, that guy's running like a 5.5. He's Hopalong Cassidy. Like you're sitting out there watching these guys and they don't look like themselves if they are playing. And there are some guys that should be playing that aren't in the game at all. And all of a sudden you start doing the math and you go, Are we down 5 receivers? Do we have like nobody right now to throw the ball? See the Pitt game where you're going, we don't have anybody? Or do we not have another receiver on the team? What are we doing out here?
Wait a minute. I thought Josh Gary's graduated 8 years ago. What's Gary's doing out there for this series?
It was so maddening to watch that. You know, you felt like you were trying to play Pitt with one arm tied behind your back. You had, well, and never mind the fact that you had no offense to speak of against Louisville. I mean, you're out there steady running the Wildcat. This is ridiculous. You're like, wait a minute. How are we at Florida State and we're reduced to having to run the Wildcat? This is like as an offensive mode. This is what we are right now. This is our identity. We're going to run the Wildcat.
So that's interesting. The quarterback position, Coach Norvell talked about that. He was happy with the way Kromenhoek played. And in general, in his opening statement, he was happy with how the quarterbacks played. You could piece this back together to the receiver discussion. We got guys open. They just didn't finish the plays.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm going to play detective here and we're going to, open up the manila envelope, and I'm guessing for clue, I suspect that there were drops. That's what I suspect. They had a drop problem on Saturday. If Coach Norvell liked the way the quarterbacks played, all of them, and he says that there are opportunities for receivers to finish, he's not saying that the receivers got open and the quarterbacks weren't looking in the right place. That's what that sounds like to me. They might have had a drop issue on Saturday.
That's a carryover problem from the spring that was talked about by us, was addressed by him at various points, is something that you entered into fall camp being worried about, needed to see improvements. I think it's got to be really frustrating for him that it reared its ugly head here, because I don't know that it's been a bane in this camp's existence. I don't feel like it's been a plague. I don't feel like, I've commented on the inconsistencies of catching the football. I brought that up in the spring, and I felt a lot of frustration about that. I mean, they've had some bad days. They've had some days where you go, catch the damn ball, man. I mean, I'm tired of saying that phrase. I say it all the time, catch the damn ball. But there haven't been like weeks where I walked off the field and went, good Lord, they can't catch. You know what I mean? Like that was happening in the spring. We'd go 5 days, Tom, and I'd be like, well, I guess nobody's going to catch a ball around here. It was really maddening, but that hasn't been the case up to now. So, we'll see. We shall see. Guess what's out today, guys? If you missed the first hour, maybe you don't know.
The coaches poll.
That's right.
The coaches poll.
Out and about, you can see for yourself the coaches poll. And Florida State, drum roll please, comes in at number 10. Seem right to you? Does to me.
Yeah, I was looking at the teams around Florida State.
Okay, so let's do that together. I would have us ahead of Penn State, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I would have us ahead of Michigan, who is going to fall off a cliff this year because of all that they've lost.
Talk about falling on the sword for your hero.
Yeah, your boy.
He's crying about Jim Harbaugh in his interim games last year, and I would do anything for you. You would?
Yes.
Good. Well, I'm going to coach the Chargers, and you're about to do everything for me. Thank you very much, Mr. Moore.
Yeah, I would have us ahead of them. And then I really don't quibble with anybody else. I mean, I suppose I like us more than I like Ole Miss. But, hey, look, other than that, I could see us at 7 or 8. About the best I would put us. Worst I'd put us is somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 or 16. That seems about right. I'm not going to quibble with this.
No.
Number 10.
Clemson is second in the ACC. I believe they're 14.
Yep.
And then Miami's not far behind them. I'm looking more relative to the ACC this year. It's funny. I don't like this conference very much, but I'm looking at those rankings because that's the thing that's important now. It's the math changes. Win the conference and you're in the playoff. And I'm wanting to see what the media thinks about those particular institutions. I'll be checking those box scores more closely. If there's an upset in the ACC, if there's an opportunity for one, you're going to root for it all the more because, going to Charlotte is going to be the key here in order to guarantee a spot into the college football playoff. Let's hope it's not an invitational anymore. But I find myself looking at the standings and the top 25s for that. And I think that's what's going to happen here moving forward is, yes, of course, for at-large teams, the polls are going to matter because they can influence, just like a TV broadcast can, they're going to influence the selection committee. but I'm finding that I'm looking more conference centric. And I think wherever Florida State goes in the future, I'm going to be doing the same thing. How are you relative to your conference compatriots?
I think the ACC, if we're going to remove the fact that we all want to get the hell up out of here as soon as possible and we loathe the conference and we roll our eyes at its standing amongst the Power Four, okay, so let's just put that over here and have a real conversation. I think the ACC is fascinating this year. I think that you can make a case for Florida State, Clemson, and Miami to win the conference. Many people have. I favor Florida State. That's fine. I'm not quibbling too much with those that don't, who look at Clemson or maybe Miami. I suppose I'll certainly listen to the argument. But I think you can argue that there are 6 pretty damn good football teams in the ACC. I thought the way that Virginia Tech finished last season was promising. Louisville's a very well-coached team, and they have a chance to be an upper-crust ACC team. And don't forget about the new entry in SMU. So if you're going to throw in Virginia Tech and SMU and Louisville on this list to go with Florida State, Miami, and Clemson. And then note this, the others receiving votes in the coaches poll, right there with those teams I just mentioned, was Memphis, a team you play who many think will be the best team in the group of 5. Gets fun, doesn't it? All of a sudden you really realize it. You think to yourself, all right, so the ACC competition, at least in the upper crust, is not terrible. We don't play every one of those teams, but we also do have Memphis, and of course you have a non-conference game against Notre Dame, who is in the top 10 of the coaches poll, and we should probably unveil the coaches poll right now. It's Georgia number 1, Ohio State number 2, Oregon number 3, Texas number 4, Alabama number 5, Ole Miss number 6, Notre Dame number 7, Michigan ranked too high, number 8, Penn State, number 9, perennially ranked too high, Florida State, number 10, followed by Missouri, LSU, Utah, Clemson, Tennessee, Oklahoma, K-State, Oklahoma State, Miami, and Texas A&M round out the top 20. The last 5 in, A&M, Arizona, North Carolina State, nice team, part of that ACC contingent, USC, Kansas, and Iowa. Look at the fighting Leopolds out there in Kansas. There was a time you couldn't find them anywhere near the top 25, and here they are entering the top 25, at least according to the coaches poll. Good on you, boys. Good on you, boys.
The coaches poll.
Good times.
I really want to thank P. Simpson, who usually brings a lot of levity and joy to the Heisen League chat, for suggesting that we brand it the Manscaped Coaches Poll. I think that's a fantastic idea. And I'm going to run it up the flagpole. It's a different poll that we'll run it up, and we'll see what they say. But I think that's an excellent idea. And I think, long story short, we aren't about the right place. There might be a couple of teams behind us that I like ahead of Florida State for maybe there's a little bit less volatility with them. It feels like there's a lot of volatility right now based upon the offenses that we're going to face. Last year at this time, we were talking about, can the defense make enough stops that the offense can rightfully pull away and do what it's supposed to do? Season didn't play out that way. The defense actually was the lifeblood in quite a few instances. I think this year it's about, can the defense get on a run of 4 out of 5 drives they get stops on? Can they do things like that in order to make sure that this offense has an opportunity to get the motor going? I think the defense has to lead the way this year, in short. Last year, this time, we thought the offense would lead the way and the defense just needed to come along for the ride. I think it's the exact opposite this year. The defense has to lead the way and the offense has to come along for the ride and establish those body blows in the ground game to pull away late.
Tried and true, my friends, Seminole-owned business, looking for those of you that want to take advantage of the ad program. They will give you the much-needed boost and or exposure your company and services need for more people. For more people, that's what you're looking for, right? Whether you have the space or you need to sell more businesses, the program may be ideal for you. Ideal businesses that are, I think, looking to get involved with this would be, if you want a free video ad board, they'll install it for you. That means you don't pay for the television, nothing. Big 80-inch television, they come in, set it up. They only take a third down at the bottom to advertise whatever it is you want. They'll control that. You don't have to worry about it on a daily basis. So if you have a dental or medical office waiting room, auto repair or dealership, something like that, of course, a restaurant would work as well. You want to take advantage of the video ad board that's being offered up. It's a great deal. I don't know why you wouldn't do it. And don't forget, 10% of the tried and true net revenue goes to the Battle's End. 10% of the net revenue goes back to the battle's end. Give them a call today, 844-464-6653. That number again, 844-464-6653. Don and Joe wanting to do business with their fellow Noles and save and make you some money. Hit them up today. And also, if you were watching on Warchant TV, you just saw the QR code. You can swipe that and make that work as well. It's Jeff Cameron Show 93.3, Real Talk Radio. Warchant TV continues in a moment.
Hey, Paul, Termite and Pest Control. There are many companies out there selling pest treatment programs at prices which seem too good to be true. Like most things, you get what you pay for. Let's separate the fact from the fiction. Fiction. The price these companies offer includes all visits needed to keep a home pest-free. Fact. Their prices only include regular visits for exterior treatments. If you encounter pests inside your home, these companies will charge you for additional visits. Is that really pest prevention? At Paul's Termite and Pest Control, we always apply exterior treatments, but our plan includes a significant difference. Whenever you encounter an interior problem, Paul's technicians are there, usually the same day you call, and there is no extra charge. With ProShield, you'll never pay extra for providing the service we promised. Pest prevention for your home, and we'll be there as many times as needed to honor our commitment with no extra charge. Paul's Termite and Pest Control is a local company that proudly served the Tallahassee area for over 50 years.
For the elimination of termites and any other pests,
call Paul's. We'll get them all.
And we make lawns greener, too.
This is Shannon Young with Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation. Sellers, are you stuck between wanting to sell your home and waiting for rates to fall? Are you worried about the contingency of having to sell your home? What if you didn't have to? With a 2-1 rate buy down, you can lock in a lower interest rate for the first 2 years of your mortgage and get the home you want now, all while having a higher chance to buy that next home with the contingency of selling yours. If you wait for rates to fall, you risk more competition, sellers less likely to wait, and paying more for that next property. If you're stuck, we need to talk. Give me a call at 954-369-6171. Again, this is Shannon Young with Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation. That's 954-369-6171. And don't forget, for every loan we close for our fellow Noles, I will personally donate $250 to the battle's end.
Equal housing rent. NMLS number 373031.
Hey, this is for my homeowner friends out there. You know who you are. When you get your grass cut, you're going to inspect the work, make sure it's good. Get your house painted, check around every corner and edge, make sure that's done right. Get a new roof, get eyes on those shimmering new shingles. Get your septic tank cleaned. Bet you're not popping your head down in there to take a look around. You got to trust it's done right. I'll make it easy. Go see my friend Greg Miller, Miller Septic. They're my guys. I trust them, and you can too. MillerSeptic.com. That's it. That's the commercial. That's the whole thing. Check them out. That's MillerSeptic.com.
You probably already know that Pinch a Penny Pools and Spas is your one-stop destination for all pool maintenance needs, offering everything you need from chemicals, cleaners, vacuums, nets, and more. But that's not all. Pinch a Penny also carries a huge selection of premium hot springs hot tubs paired with easy financing options, making these luxury hot tubs affordable for everyone. And if you have an older hot tub and you're worried about the hassle of removing it, worry no more. Pinch a Penny will not only remove and haul away your old hot tub, but also offer a trade-in value for a credit towards your new one. So why wait? Visit Pinch a Penny's 12,000 square foot showroom today on Greer Road and discover how effortless and affordable owning a fantastic hot tub can be. Find out more at TallahasseeHotSpring.com. That's TallahasseeHotSpring.com.
Science-backed, technology-tracked, and coach-led. Hey, Jeff Cameron here. You've heard me rave about the benefits of Orange Theory Fitness and the proven track record of science-backed interval training. Well, now Orange Theory Fitness has done it again, adding more ways for you to improve your health and look your best. In addition to the always great standard workouts, OTF has added Tread 50 and Strength 50. For those in the mood to just lift for an afternoon or attack those cardio goals for the day. Take the guesswork out of exercise. Make sure you're getting the most out of each and every workout. Orange Theory Fitness, location Midtown Tallahassee and Village Square Boulevard.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Rolling on Big River, although I probably shouldn't say that because there might be rivers of water going through your backyard right now. That's the case down south where, Mom, if you're watching, I hope you're well. We're doing okay up here. I'm a Memphis Nole. Been watching Memphis since before Norvell. Trust me when I say my Tigers are not ready to handle FSU in the trenches. Over by halftime, guys. That's from Nico. Thanks for the contribution, Nico. Thanks for listening and watching the show. We appreciate you. Yeah, a little talk in the chat about Florida State Memphis. I mentioned before the break when I went over to the coaches poll, that the group of five, I guess, leader in the clubhouse contender seemed to be maybe not universally lauded, but certainly thought of is Memphis, right, as that group of five. They have an offense that can score a ton of points. We'll see. Usually the difference between a group of five and a non-group of five, of Power Four in the case of what remains, is the line of scrimmage. And Florida State wants to dominate the line of scrimmage. They've brought in a ton of size. They've got a ton of size. They've got a ton of experience. They've got a ton of snaps under their belt, tons of games played. They've got a commitment to running the ball. They get a stable of running backs that goes 6 deep. They ought to be able to run the ball. So, yeah, those are the difference makers in games like that against Memphis. I dare say that should be the difference in the game against SMU as well, is that you're going to run right at them, wear them down, and, by the second half, you're kind of having your way with them on the ground. That's why we keep saying that it's going to look a little different this year. Offenses can be judged from an efficiency standpoint, success rate standpoint, EPA standpoint, right? You can go through all these different numbers and say what something is or is not in terms of efficiency, but it really does matter about success rate. Are you winning first down? Are you winning in the run game? Are you winning in the passing game? What's your percentage? Where do you rank in something like that? If you're 17th nationally rushing the football and you're 23rd throwing the football, Florida State's going to win a ton of games. Florida State will win a ton of games if that's the case.
Yeah, I think the whole goal here is you run the ball the way that you need to get yourself in advantageous situations, and then your yards per attempt number is high. Your yards per attempt number.
Yeah, down the field. Yep.
Down the field, and hopefully that's the case where Florida State, it by game 2 or game 3, they can get into that kind of a groove. There's potential there to be able to successfully run the football a lot in the first month of the season. Because Georgia Tech didn't stop it very well last year. Obviously, Boston College is, no great shakes in the ACC. You're more scared of their mobile quarterback than you are anything else. Memphis, trenches issues. SMU, trenches issues. So by the time you get to Clemson, you should be able to successfully run the football on through your first 4 games. But it is going to be curious because last year you knew what to expect when they took the field against LSU. It's amazing how much 1 year can make a difference, especially in college football. When we played them in the Superdome, you didn't know what you were going to get out of Jordan Travis. You didn't know how comfortable he was going to look throwing the ball on 3rd and obvious. He answered all those questions within about a quarter and a half. Last year, you have full expectations of what this offense is going to look like. You have full expectations about the explosiveness of what the offense should provide consistently. And they did by the end of the night against LSU. This year, it's a discovery process again. It's plainly speaking, it's a discovery process again. Even the coaching staff to a degree. They might feel good about what they got, but there's a lot of newness here. And so we're all going to be figuring it out on the fly on Aviva.
I can't get there soon enough. This game can't get here soon enough. We're going to be tired of talking about practice. This happens all the time. This happens if you're an NFL fan and you watch preseason games, plural. And by the time you get done with the second of watching your favorite team, you go, okay, all right, let's go. What are we? Let's go. Let's see it against real competition, real starters, when it matters, all those things. I wonder if I can still take advantage, by the way, Tom, of the ATM that's been Harbaugh in the NFL over the years. What do we got here? NFL schedule. Pulling it up right now. We already had the Hall of Fame game. We know that. Houston and Chicago, 21-17 Chicago. By the way, the poor people in Chicago need some love. That White Sox team is historically awful and on the cusp of setting some very interesting records. Okay, here we go. We get this week, Thursday, Carolina at New England. New England, a 4-point favorite there. It's a preseason game. Don't bet it. New York and Detroit. On Friday, we get Atlanta and Miami, Houston and Pittsburgh, Philadelphia. There it is at Baltimore, Tom. Baltimore by 3. It's the only preseason game you need to look at if you're a gambler. We're gonna lay that 3?
I wonder. Maybe that's something for Ira too, because I know he's a Baltimore baseball guy and he hates the Colts for leaving Ireland. Ireland, listen to me, leaving Baltimore. See, I'm thinking about being in Ireland.
Yes, you are.
But the Sharps have gotten to the money line in Ravens games in recent years to where it's just so damn expensive to play them as a straight winner. It looks like a money line of, say, like Ohio State traveling to Indiana. It's minus 350, minus 425 in some
just to pick him as a winner, right? Yeah.
To pick him as a winner in a preseason game. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, I know. I've been happy. We've had so many wonderful distractions to help get us through. Like the practices themselves have been awesome already, and we'll get back after it this week with an opportunity to cover this again and build up. But you had the Olympics, of which I paid attention to earlier. As I said, I'll mention some things here before the end of the show that I walked away from impressed and also celebrated. You know, it in a couple of areas, as if you didn't know this or maybe needed a reminder, winning an Olympic gold still means a lot, even to the most stoic amongst us. And if you didn't see it, Scotty Scheffler's tears tell you it still means something, because that is a man who I doubt cried when he had his baby recently. I don't think I've ever seen him cry after winning majors, let alone just a regular PGA Tour event, right? So for him, and it was a 29 on the back nine for a resounding suck it to everybody else. A 29, you got to be so pissed if you're Tommy Fleetwood. Like, I can't even have this. You guys are always beating me out. I've lost in a playoff at a major before. I've had guys shoot 63s in a PGA Tour event to track me down by one. I've lost by 2 strokes at the U.S. Open. I was in the final 3 at the Masters and lost by a stroke. I can't win anything. Now I've got a chance to win a gold, and Scotty Scheffler isn't even anywhere to be found on the medal board. He's so far back. John Rahm's running away with this thing. Wait, what's that? Scotty's gone birdie, birdie, birdie. What? Here we go. My man is pin hunting. Did you see the numbers? That back nine for him to go win a gold, Tom. Here you go. This is insane. Here it is. I pulled it up. I wanted to get this in here because I don't know how many people saw this. So he was crying during the Star Spangled Banner, which was awesome to see. Here he is. Okay, so he's down off the lead, way back. He goes and decides, tells his caddy, I'm just going to fire at the pins. I want to reach the medal stand. So Data Golf, Tom, gave Scotty Scheffler a 0.4% chance of winning when Rahm reached 20 under. Rahm was at 90.2. So one guy has a 0.4 chance of winning and he wins the gold. The other has a 90.2 chance percent of winning and doesn't medal. So here you go. The 6 under 29 pushed him to 19 under for the day, which edges, as I said, Tommy Fleetwood and Hideki Matsuyama. But the ball striking, which is what we always bring up, he hit approaches when he decided to go at the pin to 2 feet. The next one, 13 inches. The next one, 6 feet. The next one, 14 feet. The next one, 14 feet. The next one, 15 feet. Every one of those ended in birdie. Knowing a gold medal was suddenly in play after Rahm double bogeyed 14, Scheffler hit an 8-iron to 17 feet, only needed to 2-putt in order to get the win, did, and told everybody, I'll see you guys on the medal stand. And was stoic for a good long while until they put that gold medal over his neck, and he couldn't keep it together. Pretty cool.
I think Tommy shot 5 under or 6 under yesterday and still lost.
6 under, and he gets tracked down by a 29.
And the killer for him was the flop on 17 behind the green because it was on the collar. I don't look, man, I ain't a pro, never sniffed being a pro golfer, but I don't understand how you go wide open in the face when you've got a collar behind the ball 2 inches back. You got a leading edge that sucker. I mean, that's all I do anyway, but you got a leading edge that sucker and take your chances. But unfortunately for Tommy, it didn't happen. I thought maybe this would be his Xander Schauffele moment. He wins the gold first, and that paves the way to a major or two. Poor old Tommy's still going to be looking.
He's still looking. It sucks for him, man. That's brutal. Guy drops a 29 on your ass on the back nine. He's out of it. He's completely out of it. It's crazy. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Your local news now.
Governor Ron DeSantis officially declared a state of emergency Thursday afternoon as forecasters track a tropical disturbance heading toward Florida. The executive order points towards current projections showing that tropical disturbance Invest 97L may strengthen into a tropical depression over the weekend and early next week. Attorney General Ashley Moody has activated Florida's price gouging hotline following Governor Ron DeSantis' state of emergency declaration. Florida's price gouging law
Look at that. Day one already on the seams, y'all. Already on the.
Cubans in Vegas, man.
Eddie, there were no Cubans.
Chef.
The sandwich. There were no Cuban sandwiches. You're Cuban. Of course I know there were Cubans there.
Oh, the sandwich. Yeah, no, there probably wasn't many there in Vegas.
No Cubans.
No, not yet.
Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Didn't realize it, but we do have the opportunity to talk to my man, Irish Fell. Let's do so right now. Brother, you there?
I'm here, Jeff. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Can you hear me okay? We've had some problems with the phone lines today, but if you can hear me, let's fire it off.
Let's go. I'm here.
Okay, so first things first. How did you – I didn't even get told there was a practice today, Ira. I'm jealous you were out there. You got to see it. Was it all in the indoor practice facility, I assume?
For the most part. They did Norvell got the quarterbacks and receivers out, the elements a little bit. I think you wanted to just kind of see how those guys threw a wet ball, how the receivers had their concentration. And so, they got a little bit of work out there. But for the most part, everything else was inside.
What got done was there something of a sense post scrimmage that they're kind of just working on some things, or was this what we've seen together, which is that they've gotten after it most days?
Yeah, it was pretty similar to most practices. I thought that there were some really spectacular plays by DBs. Shaheed Brown in particular, he was sensational. It was one of the best practices that I remember really from any defensive back. I mean, he probably either broke up 3 or 4 passes, and then he had 2 or 3 other plays where there's misdirections or trick plays, and he just snuffed them out perfectly and came up and run support just all around. Shaheed Brown was everywhere, and then Mike Norvell said that it sounded like they had a conversation. I'm not sure if it was just with the coaches or if it was with Shaheed basically yesterday along the lines of, you've been a really good player, but you can be a great player. And today he certainly looked like a great player.
Ira, I don't know how much you can say about this, and this will be a brief conversation for you and me just because of some of the technical issues on our end. But I do want to ask you real quick for those that can hear you, and I can hear you just fine. What was the sense? First of all, it made me laugh that you got underneath Adam Fuller's skin by asking the tough question about the 20-yard drive. And then, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, he that's probably the second or third time he and I have had one of those interactions where, like, the defense will have a good day overall. Like, it happened once in a game last season where the defense played really well, but there was one just totally busted play, and I think that was the first thing I asked him about. And then, the other night the defense played well, but they did give up a 20-play drive. And hey, man, we got to ask about it at some point. So I asked about what went wrong, and was it just a matter of guys not finishing plays? And he was fine during the whole time, but yeah, he pointed out that there were plenty of good plays that we didn't ask about.
How do you feel? What do we know? We have to be very careful. I know they were somewhat vague about it. You feel like the scrimmage, they got out of that pretty healthy?
I think for the most part, you saw some guys, either in green today for non-contact, or you might have saw a couple guys here or there that were not full participants in practice. I think for the most part, there might have been one or two guys that we'll have to keep an eye out for in practice. But yeah, it looked like, all the main characters were present and accounted for and looked to be in pretty good shape. And honestly, I think the day off for them yesterday was good because I thought overall there was a lot of good energy, a lot of good competition. I thought overall, considering with the storm and everything else, I thought it was a good practice.
Thank you, brother. We're going to drop here because it's not your fault, but that phone is struggling. I think it's with all the storms. We were out of power here at the studio for some time and just got it ratcheted back in just before we came on the air. Appreciate Ira Chaffel joining us on the Jeff Cameron Show. But it's good to hear that all in all, it looks like some of the main cast characters that we're used to seeing out there were out there again, Tom. And, feel pretty good about that scrimmage.
I think it was important to the coaching staff to have a practice today, to keep pushing the issue today, as you see my power flicker in case I go. Very interesting. It's almost like the aftermath is worse than the actual storm passing through.
We're hanging on. Well, it's because all the soil is soaked in the tree lines. The trees go down and take out power lines, and we're all at the whim of that.
But just from our perspective, at least I didn't hear anything from Florida State changing their plans. Mike Norvell spoke on Saturday after the scrimmage that they've got contingencies for everything from Jacksonville to early week practices, depending upon the track. He even said that today, that there's contingencies available for Jacksonville in case it's too wet over there or the conditions for traveling aren't safe. But when it came to today's logistics, that they were going to have a practice, we didn't hear a thing, which means that they never wavered from, we're going to get the hell out there and we're going to work today. So that tells you all you need to know about every minute counts. Not to say that they would have, maybe tapered off last year because they had so many veterans, but I think they know that they've got to get to work. There's a lot of dudes who are candidates to be big-time players for us, big-time players this season. But both sides of the ball sound like we know that we've got a core that we trust, but we're waiting on these other guys to step up and play. We've got candidates who are good enough, but we're waiting on a few guys to stand out in these next couple of weeks of camp.
I believe that sense of urgency is justified. I think that this is not the same team we had a year ago where you had so many known commodities, and then you had that huge shot in the arm when Keon Coleman decided to come in, and all of a sudden you realized you had an elite difference maker at wide receiver to go along with some guys you already liked, and you knew that the combination of he and Johnny was going to be a real problem. And I think for at least half the year, there was the thought that before teams started to realize he was banged up, Jaheim Bell was a problem matchup for people. So you had it all. You had a guy on the line of scrimmage there with the offensive line that could go out and make a difference. You could slide him out further. He was really a tough guard for a while there. And then you had the two receivers to go along with a playmaker and a kind of a game buster in Trey Benson. The reputation of Jordan Travis preceded him, so teams were scared to death of him running, and they didn't really realize until much later on that he wasn't going to. And so you had people going into games with a lot more known commodities, producers to fear, whereas that's not the case this year. And you are going to need those guys to prove it. And I think defenses are going to make them do that. And so these reps, you can't afford to just chalk it up and say it's a little rainy in Tallahassee. Now, I'm not trying to make light of a serious storm, and we know people out there have been affected. So, everybody be safe. But at the same time, you have an indoor practice facility. Tallahassee got a little bit lucky as this thing skirted a little further east, and we were in good shape. For the most part, this city's in really good shape. So Mike's of the mindset, we need the reps. We need the practice. We need to get better now. And if you just take a day for the sake of taking a day when you really didn't have to, you can't get it back.
Yeah, I think both coaches, we played a lot of video today of Norvell and Fuller speaking on the scrimmage. It just sounds like they both have a common thing where if they sat down over a cup of coffee, how do you feel? How do I feel? And they would say, I agree. They need more guys to prove that they can be trusted. I think that's what they're both looking for. That's what Mike Norvell's looking for in the receiving core. Prove to me that I can trust you and call your number on 3rd and 7 when they're going to double Malik because they think he's primary one, or Kyle Morlock has emerged, and so they're going to focus on him. Prove to me that when we're looking for that other guy, that you can be that player. And then Adam Fuller on the other side is looking for the same thing with the defensive line rotation, and then also when he was speaking about communication and how it needs to get better. Prove to me that if DJ Lundy or Shy or Cam Riley are not on the field, you can be the one to get everybody organized in the places that they're supposed to be, and that we're going to be confident if we need to call in a wrinkle, we need to call something that's irregular, that you can get that signal in and we can communicate. I think that's the lesson I'm taking from the scrimmage, is that the defense was good, quarterbacks were good, but both the offensive coordinator de facto and Mike Norvell and defensive coordinator saying, I just need more guys that I know I can trust. And I think that's only natural. That can only come with time and more reps in a fall camp like this.
One thing I did not mention is I think we won't know. Well, I guess the way I should say this is look at the incredibly high percentage of passes that were completed last year by Jordan Travis. One of the things that he did very, very well was he didn't throw interceptions, first of all, and he was accurate for the most part. And so that may be a bigger struggle this year. And we won't know to what degree they pivot and run the offense again through those running backs in this offensive line and that tight end group. How much do they trust DJ to, if they have to wing it around the lot, if a team decides they're taking away the run, they're hell-bent to do so, they're going to stack the box to do so, can he make all those throws consistently? Can he read it right? I don't know that we're going to learn any of that to a level in which we feel completely comfortable until the games start. And, I think we're all wanting to know that because we did know it last year. We did have an understanding that, like you said, the year before we figured out that Jordan Travis had taken a massive leap forward in his understanding of what he was looking at and where to go with the football. We haven't seen DJ in this offense to know that is something that you can unequivocally trust. Let's hope that is the case. That's me playing the probable bet, everybody.
It's time for, how you say, with the pitching probables?
And away we go. Mets, Cardinals, Sean Manaea, Andre Palante, Reds, Marlins, TBD, Rodere Munoz. D-backs, Guardians, Zach Gallen, Logan Allen. Giants, Nats, Logan Webb, Patrick Corbin. Astros, Rangers, Hunter Brown, Andrew Haney. Twins, Cubs, that's David Festa, Kyle Hendricks. Red Sox, Royals, James Paxton, Brady Singer. TBD for the White Sox, who, by the way, have lost 20 in a row. The White Sox, friends, are 27-87. They have a chance, a very good chance, to finish as the worst team to ever play baseball in any one season in the history of the game. Sweet Jesus. The A's, meanwhile, suck to high heaven, and that's who the White Sox play. They'll throw J.P. Sears. But by way of comparison, the A's, who I said are so bad, 46-67, nearly 20 games better than the White Sox. Phillies, Dodgers, great game if you're up late tonight. Aaron Nola, Tyler Glasnow, that's what I'm talking about. That's a look at those that shall reside on the bump. Can you believe those White Sox numbers?
No, and we actually were discussing that on Friday. Like, is that right? You said, check that. Did I see 27 and 85 or whatever you said?
Yeah. The White Sox have lost 20 straight games when they lost to the Twins yesterday. The longest losing streak since the 1988 Orioles when I was in high school. They lost 21 in a row. It's 4 shy of setting a modern MLB record, 7 shy, Tom, of an all-time record. Could be the worst team we've seen in decades amongst decades. They are on pace for just over 50 wins right now, which is still probably a good distance away from those Philadelphia Athletics who won only 36 games, Tom, back in 1916, the worst on record. But the White Sox got rid of a lot of players at the deadline as well, so the pace is worsening. If you look, you can go back to the 2013 Astros, Tom, went 51 and 111. Do you remember them?
Yes, I do.
51 and 111. 2018, the Orioles won 47 games. They went 47 and 115. The Tigers in 2019 went 47 and 114. The one thing that kind of stands out there is that every one of those baseball teams, including this White Sox team, were the worst teams in the league defensively. It wasn't close. The White Sox ranked last in advanced defensive metrics across the board. Defensive run saved, fielding run value. They're 29th in outs above average. They have blown more saves than they have. They've blown 28 saves. They have 27 wins.
That's awesome.
Could you imagine?
No. You get a pass if you're. I know Steve Matthews, one of the guys who's often in the chat. We love Steve and his dad. They're big White Sox fans. You get a pass. If you took a pass on this year, you get a pass.
Tom asked a question. If FSU goes 11-1, I'm thinking 12-0. Is this Norvell's best coaching job? Well, golly, if he goes 12-0, it would be hard to argue that this isn't his best coaching job. Although. Yeah, I'd say it has to be, right? I don't think they're going to go 12-0, but they could.
I'd say don't sleep on last year. Don't sleep on last year's coaching job. There's a vision of what that was supposed to be. It did not come to fruition, and they found a way to win all their games until they were disbanded after the Invitational. Last year was a remarkable coaching job. A lot of NFL talent, but that was a lot of it banged up NFL talent. That was a really impressive coaching job.
I think it was better than people realized. I wanted to give a shout out to Kristen Faulkner, who stunned the world with an Olympic gold medal over the weekend in women's road racing. By the way, that's a 40-year American drought that she broke, and she was an Olympic alternate that won the gold. Also, tip of the cap to the U.S. women, who closed out the Olympic Games emphatically with a gold medal and a new world record in the women's 4x100-meter relay. Dominating that ass is something to celebrate. I already said Scotty Scheffler there. Noah Lyles, by the way, I've watched that photo finish 100 times. I don't know how he won, but he did, which is awesome. And that is the 100-meter dash, something we haven't won in a long time. He's the first American to win the event in the last 20 years. Say goodbye, Tom. We'll be back tomorrow, everybody.
See you, folks. We'll see you. Headlines tomorrow, though.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, that's true. Headlines will be here tomorrow, and it's going to be fun. Should be a lot of fun. Be good. Thanks for joining us. Hope you guys stay safe. Talk to you soon. Peace.